Hello, everyone. Megan Boitano, the founder of RD Place. Thank you for joining me today for the January edition of Share Your Wisdom, Grow Your Business. I have been looking forward to this interview for actually a couple of months now. Today we're going to talk to Kristen Morgan and really digging into how she engages her audience. And recently, we met at Fancy, and I sat down with her, and it was amazing the amount of marketing knowledge that was coming out of her that I immediately said, Kristen is someone I need to loop back around with because she clearly understands generating a sales funnel, engagement, really putting all those pieces together. And so I put Kristen on my list of people I wanted to talk to, and I thought she'd be the perfect person to bring on for an interview to share her wisdom with a wider audience, not keeping all of that great stuff to myself, that I could share it with you all. So we have Kristen. She's actually joining us by phone instead of live video today. She's busy and was working this morning, and so she's not quite back at her office to join us via video yet. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it over the phone.
That I will be.
Yeah. So without further ado, I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction for those of you who don't know Kristen, and then I'll let her talk more about her practice, her business, and we'll dig into details about marketing. So,
Cool.
yeah, well, I guess, Kristen, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and about your practice, because this is intended to be a low-key conversation. So give us some background.
Yes, I'm on the phone. Like I said, I figured I'm going to hopefully be home in like 10, 15 minutes and then jump on face to face. But this is the nature literally of virtual business. It's like things change. You jump on the phone instead of the live, but here I am. Like I said, I call myself just an anti-diet dietitian because I am a intuitive eating and health at every size practitioner. And I designed my business. A lot I could talk about, but I think if you had to describe my business, it's solely virtual. I have done, because I have a little boy at home, I stay at home with him. So I really wanted to design my business. I didn't want to have appointments. Okay. I didn't want to have appointments because I felt like my day was kind of swallowed up a lot by having a toddler, which is great, how I want it. But I found that adding appointments and a lot of counseling sessions really stressed me out, and I wasn't enjoying it. And so I decided I wanted to create a business where I could still help people, but have as much flexibility as I wanted to. And so I created a course, and that's been sort of the core of my business right now. And I'm actually transitioning into a new exciting thing in March. So that's kind of the core of what I do. And I engage, I don't know, I could go off in a lot of directions, but that's how I make sales. But I really try to drive my business through social media and email list building and building trust. So that's kind of where, does that answer your question?
Yeah. I think that gives us, the field of dietetics and, what we do as dietitians, there's so many ways we can earn a living. And I think knowing that your primary business model is around an online course that is, isn't seeing clients one-to-one. I think it's really important that we put that out, forward, because this is the kind of, marketing that, how do you market a product that's, not your one-to-one? A lot of the groups that we're in may be targeted at, building, client referrals. It's kind of a different marketing approach. So I think we'll kind of first dive in and let's talk first about your website, kind of some broad strokes around. It's very consistent. I spent quite a bit of time browsing around the tone, your messaging, your call to action, kind of your branding, almost your personality that you can really feel as you're on your website. How did you really find this voice, and how did you kind of hone your brand so that you're attracting people who are going to be a good fit for your course?
I think that it took a while to figure that out, because when we all start in business, we all want to fast forward to trying to sell our product and trying to get out there. And if we don't have nailed down how we want to speak to our clients, you're going to hit crickets, I think, because I really had to find a voice, because there's a big know, like, and trust factor that you need to develop. So I hit some walls in the beginning, and then I actually ran across a fantastical love girl crush of a copywriter. Her name is Janine Duff, and she's got a great little group. I wanted to pass her name along and did a challenge with her, and I learned a little bit about how to talk. Her biggest takeaway was talking how you would to somebody in person. And it's not easy, because it's putting your personality out there. And I finally embraced, I finally just embraced that, it's so much easier to be myself. So I write my blogs like I would talk to somebody. I let myself go in how I write, and I don't worry about what people are going to think of me, because I know that's a big concern for people, is that, people aren't going to like me. And I get that. But if they don't connect to you, they're not who you want to be in your circle. There are billions of people in the world. You want to grab the people that connect with you and have the people that don't move on, So I just kind of threw myself out there, and I'm kind of coffee loving, hipster, kind of sarcastic, just throwing it all out, hot mess kind of self. And I just owned it. So a lot of it was just asking myself who I am, and how do I get that out there? And honestly, I picked some colors that I felt I really enjoyed and how I wanted to make people feel, which was warm, cozy, at home. And my colors kind of fit that. And I don't know, then I just, that's where I start with the visuals.
Yeah, I would definitely, for those of you listening and KristenMorgan.com, check out Christy's website, because this messaging that we're talking about, if you read her About Me page, if you read her information about her, Diet Rebellion show, you get so much of her personality. And I think as I do quite a bit of reading, that currently people want to know the brand, whether you're a huge company or you're a small company, that it's all about who's behind the brand, who is that person. And I think putting your personality into your brand, so people trust you and they identify with you, versus being kind of vanilla, that I don't want to offend anyone, or I don't want to be too, someone might shy away. That really what you're saying is kind of embracing who you are, and injecting a lot of that into the way you write, as well as the way you built your website. So you can totally see that. And I think what you have, I know all of our, our websites are kind of a work in progress, but I think you've done that to a T. And so people are looking for how to create, put personality into their brand and how to really speak authentically. They should read everything on your website, and some light bulbs would go off for sure. Not to mention, it's just entertaining and fun. And you find yourself reading the entire page just because it's entertaining and engaging. And so your website's really great. So I would encourage people to
thanks.
to visit
I appreciate that, because I did put a lot of work into it. And it's hard to be yourself on the internet. And the other thing that I do is I put a bold statement right on the front of my page, about when people come to my page, I want them to get a feeling. And I just said a powerful, bold, your time has come to never diet again. And it's whoa, you want to catch people right off the bat. So I threw that right on the front page, big old smiling face. And I think that I have connected, just let me say this, in the last 3 months of brand visibility work I've done, I have gotten more messages about how quote unquote awesome I am or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that to be like pretentious. I'm saying it's like they connect with me. They're like, I love your message. Thank you for saying this. I get this. I get you. And I'm like, it just works. And it's not something we need to skip by as dietitians because it can be frustrating to gather online clients or to sell digital products. If people don't trust you, they're not going to send their money over the internet at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like getting that down is so important.
Yeah. I think, I want to dig into the marketing aspect, but I think basically that homework that you have to do up front, you really have to know your brand and know your target audience before, now we're going to start digging into a little bit, more about your products and your marketing approach, but that work was really important and kind of preface the success that you've had with your marketing is because you really did that work up front. So let's just transition and talk to us about your course. So the course is Live, Love, Lose, and why, how did you, I guess you told us how you knew you wanted to have this online digital product, but just tell us a little bit more about the course, because I think it'll help people to understand some of the marketing stuff we're going to talk about.
It's very interesting that you've caught me in this interview in a time of sort of rebranding, because I initially sold the course. It was, it was Live, Love, Lose, live your life, love yourself, and lose the diet mentality. But I changed it to My Diet Rebellion when I started this movement because the lose kind of threw out an air of like weight loss, and that's not really what I do. So it's interesting because you said do the work up front for your marketing and who you are. It's funny because you say that because I didn't do it up front. I just plowed in, and then I realized that I skipped the steps. So I stepped back once I really defined who I wanted to talk to and serve and how to speak to them. That's when I have decided to rebrand into My Diet Rebellion. So it's very interesting that you caught me.
Yeah.
So the course is it's kind of undergoing a little bit of a rebrand kind of thing. So that's how. So I actually am going to be changing it to a membership site called the hashtag My Diet Rebellion Society. And it's going to, but I'm going to inject the work I've already done because the work in Live, Love, Lose is the same. I'm just kind of putting out a different air because I want people to feel a rebellion against diets, not about necessarily weight loss. So anyways,
I like that and I think we're going to dig into some of this tribe and how you're building kind of this sense of community. And I love how you evolve. And I think some of us have this obsession that I have to get it right out of the gate. And I think it's really important to say, get out there and fail, be wrong, learn about yourself, learn about your brand, learn about your product, and refine. If you don't start with something, you can't possibly learn, and you're going to have a bit of a windy road. So I love that you're here saying, I started with this course with this name, and then the name didn't resonate with my audience, and now it's morphing into a membership site. So I love that what you're sharing, that it's changing.
And it is, and I wouldn't say that the name didn't necessarily resonate because the people that bought my course got from my sales page, they understood what it was all about. But I didn't necessarily think the name jived.
Got it.
But I think that My Diet Rebellion is going to it's going to bring more oomph and more feel into what I want them to feel.
Yeah. Well, I love that title. I think it's great. So let's talk. Let's talk about this My Diet Rebellion movement, because it's got when you hear it, it draws you in. So there's a lot of moving parts. So when you chose the My Diet Rebellion, talk to me about can you break it down into a few big buckets so we can kind of dig into more of each of the components of this My Diet Rebellion and how you're utilizing them, not just from the course angle, but from a marketing side?
Yeah. So do you mean like the course? Do you mean the marketing? How do you mean?
So you mentioned your course is called My Diet rebellion or
Rebellion will be,
your new
yeah.
society. So I also see on how are you using that that branding as kind of for your marketing approach? What's the interplay there?
The interplay as I'm going forward, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because again, a lot of this is going to start plowing out here in the next 2 months. Is I'm just really, I want people to. It's all about making people feel taking control because they feel like they have no control over their lives with diets and
Mm-hmm.
weight and all of this. So I've created 4 major modules. Called ones like Custom Brewed Health,
Mm-hmm.
Self-Care That Rocks, Your Beauty Standards Unplugged, and Building Your High Vibe Tribe. And those are my 4 core concepts of helping people build their own diet rebellion and one that works for them. So, and one that fits them. So like your Custom Brewed Health, we learn about teach them about intuitive eating that works for them. We custom brew it to work for them because no diet fit everybody. And then, so it's all about giving them the tools to create what works and makes them feel good.
So if these are like if these are like your 4 big bundles of content or modules, how did you, I know, you've been growing your list and you've been putting out, freebie downloads that kind of attract people. Talk to me about how core concepts, how you've started to create the freebies that then kind of grow your list.
So it's important, I think, I created these 4 core concepts around the biggest pain points of my clients. So so that way, when I create the content, I speak to their pain points. So for example, a lot of people tell me they hate their bodies and how they look when they look in the mirror. And so Your Beauty Standards Unplugged, any content I put out is aiming to try to solve that specific problem. And then I use verbiage in my blog articles that will be that present the solution to hating your body in the mirror. Then you get into copy. It's like, God, you could go all over, but I basically made a list and did some surveys about what they struggle with. And then I kind of created 4 little core areas because when you create content, it's easy to just throw stuff out there and hope it sticks. But I'm very strategic. I try to be very strategic about what I do because, it's like, it all comes back to their pain points. And I, for your Self-Care That Rocks, people are always telling me that, diets make them exhausted or they're so busy they can't deal with their bodies. And self-care is one of the major solutions for that pain point. And I often create freebies with verbiage using that things my clients say, like, are you too busy or you feel like you never are able to do anything for yourself? Here's a self-care challenge specifically for intuitive eaters, that they're like, oh yeah, man, I need that. Then they download it and they're on my list. So it's sort of those core concepts in the Rebellion Society. I write blog articles and content within them that sort of gets them agitated, helps solve their problems, sort of. And then when I launch the membership, it's going to be like, hey, here's a step further. So any blog post I write is driving them to sort of solve a problem that could ultimately drive them into my society to take it even further. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes complete sense. And specifically, you were talking about the challenge that, the self-care challenge. Can you, one of the things I really wanted to cover in our interview is about the challenge that you've been running around self-care and this big content piece that you released. How did this work together? And really, sometimes we see it as it's rolling out, but kind of back us up a little bit and talk about, okay, how you decided to challenge How did you put the pieces together to take advantage of the power of a challenge? Really, what does it mean for you, for your business? How did it work? Because it's a little bit of a mystical beast, in my opinion. How do you do this?
Oh man, it's so funny because people love challenges. In just being a lurker on the internet, people love challenges. They see challenges as kickstart to new lives or, a new beginning. And challenges are great kickstarts. And I just find, I market a lot via Pinterest. I'm very methodical and very intentional about my images that go on Pinterest. And do challenges go crazy? I had an emotional eating challenge that had I don't even know, 10 or 20,000 repins, something crazy. People see challenges and people want actionable steps. Pins with blog titles and all that are nice, but I would make my pins that say free download on it with an image and or challenge. People want an action. So I was finding that challenges, people were taking action on them. They were signing up. They were, I ran a couple challenges and both times I've brought in over 300 participants per challenge. Wow. Sign-ups for my list. I mean, not everybody participates and, there's shiny object syndrome. They see it, they sign up, they never show up. But, but I have always garnered out of that groups of people that then I run these challenges that what you're doing in those 5 days, they got to be quick. Is you're agitating their problems in a good way, but and then you're giving them small actionable solutions. They want wins. They see wins every day. And then at the very end, they are super motivated. They're excited. They feel the change brewing and they're ready to take the next step. And that's when I launched my product and it creates, and then I've always had the most sales when I run it after a challenge.
Okay. So to kind of walk back, a little bit, when the 5-day challenge, does that challenge happen over that you did? Does that happen over email or I know you have a private Facebook group. Talk a little bit more about, how you get them to sign up and then where this challenge happens.
So I said, I'm kind of running, I'll step back there. I'm kind of running a casual self-care challenge. It's kind of a marketing to get eyes on my newest blog, but it's not anything formal. The self-care on my Instagram challenge. The one I talking about now was a formal challenge. So what I did was, I created a landing page, which, included a video. I threw a video on there of me talking to them about their pain points and stuff. And a lot of people watched it. So I put it right there to build some trust. They want to sign up. Little landing page. Told them what they get, blah, blah, blah. You could talk a long time about landing pages. But I felt like I did a really good job, and I'm happy to share that with you so people can see, because I got a ton of sign-ups. And then they sign up, and I started it on a certain date. I chose a start date, and I started marketing the challenge about 3 weeks before. Okay. So gathering sign-ups. Then I sent a couple emails during the marketing to keep people on the ball. Remember, this is coming up. I would send them here's some tips, blah, 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 to stay on the forefront of their mind, because you can gather all these challenges, blah, blah, blah. So then I would, then when it started, I had created 5 emails, basically, that it was 5 days to a diet-free life. And then I talked through, every day was a different challenge of how to give up diets, how to read your hunger scale, and a few other things. And then gave them a very tiny to-do. And then every day, what I did is I went live in my Facebook group and talked about a topic that took that topic just a touch further. So I'm trying to remember, don't ask me what exactly I did, because I honestly can't remember off the top of my head the exact titles. But if one was give up the diet mentality, I think I did. Actually, no, I think I did. Here are 3 major obstacles you might encounter. So that drove people live to come see me and let's talk and let's continue to build rapport. So I did the lives, and then took them through, and then asked people to share. And I would comment, get people, in the challenge, you ask them to come in and comment on what they thought they learned. And then on day 5, I wrapped it up. I gave away 1 free membership. So I gave a contest, like a participation. People got points. And that really helped. Like, people like free stuff.
Yeah.
So that really helped them. And then I launched it. And the launch sequence is a whole nother, it's a whole nother ball game. But by the end of that challenge, people were like fired up, and they like thought I was awesome and thought the content was awesome. And boom, sales, they came in.
I see. So how did you go from the email to the Facebook group? So what's the interplay between your email list and then your Facebook community? How did that strategy work?
I always, in all my emails, I always drive them to the group. Always, come on over. So I'm always driving people there in general. But during the challenge, in one of the emails, you say, this is where we're going to be. This is where this is going to be taking place. Pop over there right now. Request to join. So you send people over there, and that's where they join, and then you can further get in front of them because people don't open their emails. They don't always check their Facebook groups. Hopefully, between the two, you can hit them up somewhere.
And I also think that point you made about, the email content, but then also doing that live every day and adding a little bit more value, allowing them to get to know you. I heard a really interesting example not too long ago about selling. So you would never walk up to some random stranger in the grocery store and say, hey, wear my t-shirt with your brand name like smacked across your chest. That would be weird. I mean, you would look at the person like, yeah, you're creepy. You might call the mall police or whatever. But, if you give people, if you're talking to somebody in the store and you've gotten to know them or you know them from your kid's school and they say, hey, I'm selling, candy bars for my kids, whatever, you might buy that. It's very weird. Just selling isn't about walking up to a stranger and saying, hey, buy my fill in the blank, but that by your email, your email challenge and then your daily lives, it was an opportunity to, one, give really great value so they know kind of the quality they're going to get in the paid product, but also for them to get to know you. So you're not some stranger walking up and say, hey, wear my t-shirt. That's just kind of weird. So I think what you're saying, it kind of puts it in perspective. That's what you were doing. You were, building credibility, building, agitating, but with their pain point and helping them acknowledge, I need to take action. But you were doing all of that in a really targeted and strategic way that really fit together, which is great.
Yeah, that's the thing. You bring up a very good point is that people don't, I don't know, aren't going to sell to random people. Selling is so much more than saying, here's my product. Selling is, I feel like, gosh, selling is getting to know people. I mean, they have to trust you. And challenges are so super effective at doing that. It's crazy. Like, I was skeptical when I first started them. And they work, man.
Yeah,
they really work.
So I want to be sure to carve this out because I'm a little bit more familiar with your work than perhaps people who are listening in, that you ran a very specific challenge that dovetailed into a sales pitch for your course. Hey, and there you are.
I think I see myself.
I can see you. Yay!
I
can hear you. I got double Kristen. Hey.
Oh, sweet. Oh my gosh.
We're together.
Hey. Look how disheveled I look.
Well, you've had a busy morning of work.
Yeah, busy morning. I'm here though.
You're here. Well, this is so much more fun to see you and not just a phone icon.
Yes. Here I am, everyone.
So I was just, we were talking about the challenge. So you ran this challenge for your launch of your course that was really kind of getting people to get signups. You knew at the end of this challenge, you were going to make a pitch, which is similar if someone's doing a free webinar. Everybody knows there's probably going to be a pitch at the end, and that's okay. Some people are going to convert, and they want your people are looking for solutions. This isn't a bad thing. But then
Right.
you're also doing this casual social media challenge currently on self-care. Talk a little bit about, this is more the target of brand awareness, just kind of putting you as kind of a thought leader in intuitive eating and health and exercise. Talk to me about the strategy behind that and how it's different than the challenge you ran for the course.
You all, you're right. It's more about brand visibility and providing knowledge and usable stuff in a way that makes people really get to know you. So while at the end of my self-care challenge, I'm not going to be pitching, I'm just, I'm getting people to trust me because that, and get to know me more, because when I do launch in March, I've been on the forefront of their mind for a couple months now. So that is, in a noisy internet world, like that is so important, being present. So like I said, the challenge is just an easy way for me to show them what I'm doing and for them to participate if they want. And I don't know, just start getting excited about who I am and how I work, if that makes sense. So
your branding out there, the My Diet Rebellion, you start to hear it and see it over and over again, and it starts to associate that, awareness and with your product. So then, oh yeah, I've heard about that. I've seen that. And it builds some, level of familiarity with with your branding. So I think it's brilliant.
Absolutely. Thanks. That's actually was a new hashtag on Instagram. I don't think I saw it anywhere. So I started a new hashtag. I just got lucky. I swear it was like a divine, moment of My Diet Rebellion. I'm like, this is perfect. It's not easy to come up with the right thing, but by the time I launch, a lot of people are going to know me. So I've really been pouring my heart into things, like I did, I don't know, one other strategy, just let me touch on this, what's in my mind, is I'm genuinely creating relationships with a lot of dietitians. I just started a book club that I'm leading that 140 dietitians are really grateful for. And I wanted to do it anyway for myself, but I've helped 140 people get connected on this book club, and people are super excited and they're very thankful for my time. When they've actually asked, can I pay you and all this? I'm like, no, it's good. I'm fine. But when the time comes to promote my challenge, boom, I've got 140 dietitians that really are grateful to me for setting something up. They might be willing to send my message out on social media. And that is going to be great. Another great marketing strategy, because they've got people that follow them, and you know what I mean? So that's been another big thing, is I've been spending a lot of time, but again, I didn't do the book club for that reason. In fact, it just exploded because I wanted to read this book. But it's so good to be generous, because then people get generous back to you.
Yes.
Because I can't afford a bunch. I can't afford a bunch of ads. I'm not going to do it.
Well, in all the world, I think it's easy to. How do we have to network? If you work in a brick and mortar, you've got colleagues, and I think it's important to cultivate both the professional relationships so that what's if someone else within your network is launching a product and you trust and you've built a relationship with them, that you're also going to be part of the community of professionals in your niche. So I love that you're giving back to the profession. One, it feels good, and two, it builds community around the area that you're interested in. Yeah. So you've kind of got
some
this
of the
two-pronged. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, some of the dietitians that are kind of singing the praises of the book club. One of them has 13,000 followers on Instagram, and she's agreed to help me out, So, I didn't do that on purpose, but that's just how the ball fell. I love this lady. I think she's amazing, and she's super excited, and I'm super excited, and we're fangirling, and I don't know, it's great. So I think it's going to be a good, I don't know, that's been a big marketing strategy as well.
I think the point of, we're kind of talking a little bit off of the challenge and strategy, but that as a community of registered dietitians, we are quite generous with our time and our energy, and that taking the time to ask, or, colleagues will probably be more than willing to help each other out when, for example, when I was starting my private practice here locally, reaching out to the most established dietitian I could find in the community who had, why would she help me? Why help someone who's setting up shop who will probably try to take my clients away? She wasn't thinking that at all, right? I reached out to her and she said, of course, I'd love to have you. Talk to me about which insurance providers and physicians, incredibly generous, and that same mentality that we as a profession really want to help each other out. And I think this is something, no one's like, oh, you're trying to take over my space or my clients, that we really and genuinely want to help each other out. So
like I said, I've told someone one time, like, you've got a list of people and X number on there are never going to buy from you. Maybe they'll buy from me. And I've got the same thing. I got a bunch of people that on my list that aren't going to connect with me, but you may be their person. I mean, it's like, give and take.
Yeah.
So that's actually been a huge, because like I said, I can't spend money on ads. I've really been pouring my heart and soul into being a generous person in the field and helping other dietitians advance. And again, I actually do that because I love it and it makes me feel good and just satisfies me, but it has benefits. So,
yeah. So I think we covered quite a bit of ground. We talked about kind of the freebies that you've created that drive people to your email lists. And you mentioned that, let's just talk different social media platforms. You mentioned Pinterest, and I'm not a big user of Pinterest. Which platforms have you found to be the most valuable? Any pointers on kind of list building for kind of engaging your audience? Like, it's that whole engagement aspect.
I want to step back real quick. You mentioned creating freebies. I just want to say one other thing. When creating freebies, it's really important to, like, in your blog, you're agitating an issue. It sounds so bad, but you're kind of like drumming up this issue and giving them something to do in the blog. And then the content upgrade is what we call them, the freebies. I designed them to take it further. So I've agitated the step. Now here is a challenge or a checklist or a workbook or whatever to take it even further. So you kind of want to make your freebies have some continuity, like blog, agitate, solve the problem, let them take it further with your content upgrade. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, strategic, and I found some work and some don't. And it's just kind of a learning process.
Yeah, I think that content upgrade is really growing your email list much faster than just, here's a freebie that you kind of generic to all of your blog posts. That content upgrades are essential to really grow your list much faster than other ways. And so I think building up that excitement during the blog post and then allowing them to dig in deeper with the content upgrade, that you're gonna see people want that item that you're offering.
Yeah, I think it's worth the time to create the extra content upgrade because you want it to work for you in the future. And it's like, I've had 75 people sign up for my Self-Care That Rocks workbook and challenge that I took a lot of time to create for this blog, but I'm going to be driving a ton of traffic to that blog. I want to give them something super valuable. And, in the last 3 weeks since I launched it, I've gotten a lot of signups for it because I made it worth it,
So tell me a little bit, your Self-Care That Rocks blog post, you created when you say this content upgrade, you created a handbook that is kind of an interactive tool that people can use to kind of digest some of the things that you've been talking about. Is that kind of...
Yes, that is exactly it. I gave 5 steps to creating a self-care plan that rocks for intuitive eaters. So I go through the plan on the blog, and they can jot it down on their website or on their notepad or whatever, the answers, but I created a workbook to go along with it. So it's like they have this workbook and they've got the reading in the workbook so they can jot it all down and put it all on paper and then
Mhm.
actually a goal sheet where they can write their goals. And people like, they love that stuff. They
Oh,
soak
yeah.
it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a, I think the content upgrade is one, as if you're reading much, you know that that's what's working, especially in blog posts right now is content upgrades. That's going to be, you're going to see more people get onto your list by offering that content upgrade. So I think it's brilliant that you're doing
it's
that.
so important. If you want to get your list, I mean, you just have to. Like content upgrades are just a have to. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's really, I think it's kind of, we can talk about things in kind of abstract terms, but I think bringing it down to the granular level of here's the topic of my blog post, here's the content upgrade sometimes helps turn some lights on for people who may be thinking, I need to come up with content to create, but that your blog post really goes back to one of those pillars, one of those 4 components, so that eventually these people you'll be trying to funnel into possible purchasing of your course, if that content resonated with them, that's one of the big buckets that your course is targeted at. So this isn't, kind of a nice to convey topic. It is something you're passionate about, but that it's immediately targeting the right people for your paid product down the line.
Absolutely. A lot of people spend a lot of time blogging, and it seems people a lot talk about how time consuming and unsatisfying it can be, but like you got to have a purpose behind it. Like I don't have time to create purposeless content. I just don't. You know what I mean? Like none of us do. So it's got to ultimately drive people to buy from you. I don't know. Like, and you can have fun with blogging and write recipes and that's great, because you're trying to solve a problem for them. They want healthy, quick recipes that are delicious and taste and look good. So like, I'm not saying that, it's just all about either driving them to sales, drive them to your list, or really try to get the trust factor. But the thing is, I always recommend getting them on your list because they can pop on your blog and peace out. And then that person's gone forever where they could have been. But if you give them the opportunity to sign up, then they're on your list and then you can, nurture them. So, I mean, it's like blog traffic is great, but a lot of people pop on and gone and they never see you again unless you get their email.
Correct. I think, it's really valuable, not just to talk about creating a content upgrade, but creating blog content that is, ultimately, I think sometimes it feels a little, I don't want to say negative to talk about sales or to talk about, we're doing this, this is a business we're trying to earn a living, and that it's okay to sell a product that basically, we talk about, and I talked to, from Master the Media, their course, that it's getting past that it's about sales. It's not. It's about people want to know where they can get more information. They like you. They trust you. They've developed a relationship with you, and they believe that the content that you've created is the best to solve the pain point or bring them the transformation or the outcome that they want. So the selling is basically not selling. It's telling them how they can continue that relationship, how they can get more from you. And I think when we get over this, I don't want to sell that. I can't get over the concern about selling that. Sometimes sharing how they can that it's about how they can get more information from you.
Yeah.
That is at a higher level. It's a higher value, and your expertise and time is of value. So I think,
yeah, you're right. And it's important. And I had to get over it. And you just have, because you're the expert, and it takes time, but you know what? I don't have time. I give a lot away for free, but then there comes a point where it's like free doesn't run the business.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't.
Right. Well, I think this is really valuable because we talked a lot about the challenge component that you've used for your course. And I think we know that engagement is really important. And what, I think we put all these pieces together. Sometimes we hear all of this and it can actually be a little bit dizzying and force us to kind of run around creating a blog post and then making a freebie download and then, but I need to be doing a webinar and then, someone's doing a challenge. And it can actually take us away from important work. So I think, being very strategic. And I know you really think about your blog content. Okay, what is my topic? Really putting some thought into, that's going to drive people to my email list. And then from this email list, I'm going to be marketing this challenge that I know is eventually going to lead to a pitch for my course. And I'm going to be driving social media traffic to this blog that's going to grow the list. That you start to think about all the big buckets and how all of them fit together, that ultimately drives revenue for you at the end game. Because you can't walk up to someone and say, wear my t-shirt, right? That's not going to work. We've got to go way back and start with digital marketing kind of 101.
Yes. And that's so important, because I see a lot of people, like, you have to step back, and then you have to like step back again and step back again and just be like, okay, you have to know, people are like, I want to serve everybody. Well, that's okay. But I niche down as much as you can, but you got to know exactly who you want to serve, exactly what their pain points are.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can start creating the content that's going to solve the pain points. You can use their words to solve the pain points. And then that's how you know exactly what blog posts to create. And you can create content upgrades that solve those pain problems. And when I say like exact words, like I survey people and I use their verbiage, because then they're like, whoa, you're speaking to me. Because that just helps me get the words out. And then you get them on your list. I mean, it's just like everything has a purpose back to the very beginning, which is why it is so freaking vital. If I have to give one piece of advice, know exactly who you are trying to serve. Exactly. I know it sounds all vague and like blah, blah, blah. I just want to practice nutrition and that's great. And dude, so do I. But you have to know, because everything trickles down from your ideal client and what their problem is, how you speak, what you create, how you draw them in. It's just, you have to. It's so important.
Yeah. I think so much of what I've read says that that's the big light bulb moment when people niche down and when they really get crystal clear about who their target client is, then they can start speaking to that client. Then they can start engaging. When it's so broad, you're not really touching anyone. You're not able to draw in and getting really specific. Like, you can go and, do a Google search, and, there's a lot of lessons and work that you can do around, identifying that target client. And then I think, but what we've talked about is a lot of this other stuff. If you haven't done that work, you really shouldn't be worried about running a challenge. That starts there. And so I think that's really valuable, that we put these. I think we're kind of in a hurry. We want to stop. We want to just go straight to the create the product, start selling it part. But ultimately, that's not the right place to start. The right place to start is a number of steps back.
And I did that. Like I just went balls to the wall, and I was like, I'm going to create my product. And I got lucky. I had some sales, but like at the same time, like I was also like flailing. I was like, I don't know exactly who I'm serving. And, I didn't make as many sales as I wanted. Then I refined my message, and then it started coming in. So like, I kind of went about it that way. And I just learned, like, it's just, I don't know. It's just like my ideal client is, Karen, and she, 35 years old, she's got or 45 years old, she's got a couple of older children, and she's been dieting all of her life, on and off Weight Watchers. She's, starting to feel very discouraged. But, so, I mean, it's like, like describing her exactly. And that, that just helps you narrow it down.
This has been really, really valuable, I think, to put some of the pieces together. And, I think sometimes taking it in, as I mentioned before, you can get dizzying, and that honestly simplifying it for yourself and not getting dizzy with, well, someone's doing a webinar and someone's offering, that really, it gets back to you getting really comfortable with who your client is, put the pieces together, your content, your content upgrades, what's your end game, and really looking at how those pieces fit together, and then not having blinders, but staying, being able to not be swayed by, the next podcast that you listen to, that you incorporate that into the plan that you have already created, that it's new information. It's kind of like nutrition science. When a new paper comes out, we don't jump onto an entire different bandwagon. We say, well, that's new information, and I add it to what I already know about this topic. So when you create, your marketing, your plan of how you're going to bring people in, how you're going to nurture that relationship, and then eventually how you're going to not sell to them, how you're going to allow them to continue to work with you further.
Yes.
That then when you hear a new podcast or you read a new blog article, it allows you to refine your plan, not go, oh, I'm offering a webinar now. Maybe a webinar isn't the way you want to connect with your audience. So what I think today helps to kind of say is let's digest, our product is different. Our clientele is different, but that the way we create some mechanism that we're not distracted and we're not wasting time, give things a chance to work, create your plan and give it a chance to work.
It does take time. It's very discouraging. You want to bust out in there and then think you're going to make sales, and it doesn't always happen that way. So it's so
I'm so proud of what you've done with the My Diet Rebellion, and that it's kind of scary to put yourself out there, to put a new brand out there, and really go confidently with your content, your personality, and that takes a ton of guts and a lot of self-efficacy, and you're connecting with people and you're making a difference in the space, both with your clients and other dietitians. And I just want to applaud you, one, because I have mad respect for you. And two, I wish you incredible, success with your course. And I'm certainly going to be, sending people over that I possibly can, because I think what you're doing is great. So,
well, I look forward to future partnerships. I know we've got some things on the docket.
We do.
So just drop, anyone has questions, like I know it can be confusing, just drop them in the comments below. I'll respond to anything and everything. Like that's how I roll. So let's hammer it out. And if you have specific questions about your business, like that you're struggling with, like get about it.
Awesome.
So
we will we will digest questions that came through. So thank you so much. And
all right.
For making it work today. I know you had a busy morning.
Yeah, sorry that was so hairy.
Flexibility. We're both moms of 2-year-olds, so we know that.
Yeah, we're good.
Our life is not our own.
That is true.
That is true. All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.